Begin. Okay, I'm calling to order the Traffic Safety, Bikeways, and Pedestrian Committee for Thursday, January 14th. First order is the election of the chair and the vice chair. I think we had the nominations last time, didn't we?
Well, yes, somebody, no, at the last meeting?
I thought we did.
No,
Oh, okay.
no, it's always done on the first meeting of the calendar year.
Okay.
First, what do you think, having the same chair 2 years in a row?
It would be 3 for him.
Oh, I think that's a good idea.
You like that idea?
You've done such an excellent job. I nominate Mike.
That's fine with me.
And do we do both?
Well, you can, I think Wayne is vice chair.
I'd like to renominate Wayne for vice chair. They did this an excellent job the last few sessions.
Well, I guess we don't have to worry about any torn rotator cuffs with people throwing their arms up and volunteering.
I second that for both vice and chair.
Okay, well, we have anyone else? Seeing none. All in favor of me, Mike, as chair and Wayne as vice chair for the 2021 year, say aye.
Aye.
All against, or any against, or abstaining? Seeing none, and Jamie's not here, so we'll take
Should have
that.
selected hers.
Okay, well, moving on, we have a new member, Rick. You could introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself.
There's one thing I can say, go Beavs.
Yeah, that's right. I just told Stephen we had him outnumbered 2-1. My wife and I have lived here our whole married life. We moved here in '68, right after we got married. She actually has lived here since 1955, so we've been around a long time. My whole working career, which was about 50 years, counting my college intern times, was in transportation. First half of that was with Odot, and I was a traffic engineer. I did managed the maintenance district here in the Salem, Mid-Willamette Valley area for about 9 or 10 years. I was the regional manager of the Portland region when I left there and joined Sage-Stone Hill, private engineering company. And I basically managed our transportation group in the Northwest of the United States. And did quite a few managed quite a few projects myself in doing that besides managing the group. Most of those were in planning. I did some design, but probably more long-range corridor plans, freeway plans, interchange plans, those sorts of things. Yes, one of the very last things I did was a long-term plan for the Shimawa I-5 interchange. So that was kind of different, working right here at home, in the advisory committee where mostly people I knew and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, that's my background, transportation, planning and engineering.
Okay, great, thank you. Anyone have any questions for Rick before we move on?
Welcome. We look forward to your expertise.
Yes.
Did you know Don Schaefer? No. He was one of the first bike engineers at Odot.
No, and I'm strange. No, and I'm surprised, although it's starting to ring a bell, because I was there when that position was created.
Yeah.
So yeah, I probably did, and my memory's gotten fuzzy.
All right, well, welcome. And while we're at it, we have a new council liaison. We could have him introduce himself too.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Ross Day. I was elected in November. Go Beavs, first of all. So there's make sure that's clear. I was elected in November to position number 2, and I appreciate your hospitality in hosting me. My background: I'm an attorney. Please don't throw things at me. I do real estate and land use, which is super exciting for most people. Not why most people end up going to law school, but that's primarily what I do, is real estate and land use. I was actually on the planning commission in 2000 when we did the Kaiser station, so I'm familiar with some of your work, I think. And anyways, I'm happy to be here.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's move on to the approval of the December 2020 minutes. Do we have any comments, concerns, or motions?
I make a motion that the minutes of December for the traffic safety,
No.
Oh.
November?
November,
Yes, it
excuse
should-
me,
yeah,
November
that's my
12,
mistake.
2020.
I'm sorry, yeah, you're right, yeah.
Be approved as written.
Okay,
second.
We have a motion to approve the November minutes and a,
Sorry, who was the second?
Steve.
Okay.
and a second. All in favor of approving the November 2020 minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or noes? Seeing none, it passes. Okay, so on the back of this agenda, there is a roster of the members. If you can take a look at it quickly and see if the information is correct.
Mine's fine.
Mine's incorrect.
What's yours?
5158 Lacey Street.
Okay.
Yeah, your neighbor was getting tired of us
Yeah, the
bothering
neighbor,
them.
yeah.
Everyone else okay? Okay, so I guess we'll just wait on Jamie to see if hers is okay, unless she's already told you.
I can email her too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, great, so that looks good. Okay, so number 6, so we've talked about this before a little bit, about a survey for the citizens, kind of like what the Parks Department has done a couple times now, I believe. And I had included a couple of links to some opinion pieces, if you will, because I'm sure we've all been a part of some survey or public meeting where in the one article they call it a dot-mocracy, where you put your dots on things you like and not on what you don't like. And so I found, having been on both ends of the public meetings where you're trying to gauge support or at least feedback on a project, that it can be frustrating to the public and can be frustrating to the people running the meeting. And I think the one piece, the second one here that's linked, it brings up points that I think are important, and that's about what are we asking of the public when we do a survey? Are we asking them to be experts in something like Rick would be doing? And sometimes that's kind of the way the questions are framed. Or they come in and they have a general sense, but they really don't understand all the nuance and the costs and all that to projects. So they put their piece in, and then a month, 6 months later, a report comes out or a decision is made, and they wonder if they were heard, why their opinions weren't considered. And so if we do a survey, and I would like to do that, I want to make sure that when we ask people questions, that what I'd like to focus on is how they're using Kaiser's transportation network, bike lanes, roads, sidewalks, all those sorts of things, to see how they interact with it, what helps them through their day, what hurts them getting around through their day. So I don't expect to have anything done tonight on this, but I see that as a subgroup, getting together, trying to hash out some questions, bringing it back here, knocking it around, and of course everyone else is always welcome to bring ideas before anything's finalized. So, thoughts, opinions?
Well, just one thing, for all of those online voluntary gathering of information are probably really skewed. So we're not getting information from the average person or what the people in the city want. Everything, I used to teach psychology, so all of the research shows that you get a very narrow group of people talking, kind of people like you and those of us here, you know. But you don't get the average person in the city, or even for example, the South End. So it depends what you want the information for. If you really want to know what people are doing, probably got to take whatever you get here with a grain of salt and find some other source of information. I'm not sure what it is yet. I mean, I didn't think it that far through. I just know that what we've got is not very good, that kind of information.
Wayne?
I was thinking there's probably already some existing surveys out there through Odot, through Safe Routes to School, through Safe Routes to Parks. We probably don't have to reinvent the wheel. There might already be some existing surveys out there.
Well, I would expect the subgroup to check those things out and to see, are the questions really valuable?
Well, and my feeling is the main thing is figuring out what do you want the survey for? What are you trying to figure out?
Right.
Is it a general casting about for problems, or is it targeted to what would improve a particular either transportation modality or the access to particular areas, and making sure that the questions are targeted to that, because I think what people get impatient from, and one of the things I noticed in one of the articles was the idea that you do these things incrementally and you keep coming back and you're changing things. And I think that one of the problems with that is that you test people's patience, and you don't want to do that either. An example was, maybe you put out some traffic cones and see if that works. Then you try something else and see if that works. And I think what the problem you might face is people using that transportation avenue would say, what's happening this week? Why are these here now? Why is this there now? What's going to be there? Frustrating my travel next week.
Right.
And so I think those are some of the things that need to be taken into consideration when formulating the questionnaire or survey and figuring out what information, what you're going to do with the information when you have it.
Right.
The Parks has just completed a survey, and of course the Parks has a specific what they want, what you use the Parks, and they had pretty significant turnout for the Parks, and that involved a lot of outreach from the 3 neighborhood associations, Kaiser Times, radio, social media. But the one thing about theirs is, one, it was in partnership with Public Works, and was not in conflict with what the Planning Commission or transportation studies that are forthcoming in the next year or two. So I think it's imperative that we can come up with all our ideas, but is it consistent with what Public Works is looking for? Is it not in conflict or a duplication of another transportation study that maybe COG is doing, Mike Jaffe's group? And the other bottom line in Kaiser, anytime you do anything, we have to look and get the approval for the cost. And that means go through council in Kaiser. So we don't want to have to go off and design this and that, and then say, well, could you put this on the website? Everything costs. And we want to make sure that we have approval through the city council to pursue this. And if it has an impact on police or their input.
Counselor?
Thank you. Jeez, just screamed into the microphone. Sorry about that. Just a couple of things that might help inform your discussion. Mr. Chair, I think your idea is very timely because at the work session we had the other night, the planning staff told us that we would be tackling the TSP in the next 2 or 3 years. So I think it would be wise for us as a city council to engage this committee in working on getting that done. And then to Hirsch's point, just so you know, they had the weekend after Christmas, they had 390 responses to the parks survey. When they closed on January 10th, the survey for parks, it was 1,263, I believe is what they told us. So 1,700, okay, wow. Even better. And again, just this in context, the firm that we hired to run the survey they said they would have been happy with about 400 to 500. So they were obviously thrilled with 1,700, but hopefully that helps you.
Oh, thank you. Debbie, do you happen to know how much it cost the city to?
We actually have a SurveyMonkey account, and SurveyMonkey does total the results. So, and I don't think that we already have the account, so we could put a survey on there without any additional cost, I believe.
Okay. So, some of the things that you were saying, Hirsch, certainly I don't want to duplicate anything. That doesn't help anyone.
But if anything, we could enhance.
Sure. Now, as to Public Works, I'd be in favor of them participating with us on that too, even police. The one thing I would point out is, so if there's a public desire for something that's, especially something that's a safety improvement, and it's not on the Public Works' radar, I would say that's a deficiency on the Public Works' side, and something that should be brought to their attention. So
yeah, but as long as they're aware of what we're asking and where we're going, because just like on the park survey, there was some information that they were given feedback on that they didn't know about.
Yeah, so. Certainly, I don't want to. I know budgets are tight, and I don't want to promise the world to anybody, but. Certainly getting the voices of everyone, as many as we can. If we can get 1,700, that'd be great. And certainly a diverse set of voices throughout the city to help even guide the TSP. I think, I find it actually a little surprising that the planning department's the only ones involved in TSP, but we're not.
If I'm being honest with you, I'm a little surprised by that myself, so I'm going to take that back.
Thank you.
And ask the council about that on Tuesday.
Yeah, I know we're not we're an advisory group here, but we at least, that's our role to advise, so.
They're working, it's a matter of steps. They are working towards getting funding to review the TSP, to hire a consultant. And I believe Hirsch was involved when we did it years ago.
Right,
and
I was
so
just going to say,
they will
this committee
always
was involved.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll
but
always
it's
include.
been 10, 15, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it has. But
Bob
that's
Newton-
what the
Bob
holdup
Newton was
is. They're
the
waiting
mayor,
for
so,
funding.
You know, that
They're
goes
waiting.
back a ways.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so it's a funding thing. So
Sure.
but it's a matter of waiting until the grants come around and then applying.
Yeah. So do either of you know, or you said in a couple of years, or the next few years, do we know, is a grant application out for it now or soon?
According to Mr. Witham, no, because mainly because of the obviously COVID-19 and the wildfires. That has taken a lot of the the funding that they had. And so he anticipates that funding will be available, not this budget cycle, but the next
The
budget
22.
cycle for grants for TSPs. And and so he expected that we would be, this was part of our long-range goal planning. He expected that we would be working on that sometime in the next 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
So you're talking the 2023 funding.
No, it would be the 2022, 2023.
Yeah, okay, that's what I was
I
thinking.
I believe that's what he said. So,
Okay, well, and Stephen, I wanted to comment that you're right about when you're doing the testing of things. I think doing something for a week would be very useless because you want to see how it reacts or people react in different situations. And like right now with schools, if we put something to make schools areas safer, we learn nothing, really.
Yes.
So, but, okay, well, so I'm hearing room temperature support? Not hot support, but.
Well, I think we should be a partner in the transportation study. I think this is an opportunity like the parks, that while it's here, let's ask some of these questions. And because I'm going on 10, 15 years ago, a lot of the transportation questions, and it was a little bit of the dot, like you said, focused far more on motor vehicle movement. And I want to see more on transit, bicycle, and peds. And we did not have that. Of course, I'm not picking on Keizer. I mean, that was just engineering at that time. If you were going to think you were moving cars, not that the cars should be left out, but maybe we can partner better. And with the funding, no problem.
Okay. Well, so does everyone think about first reaching out to Public Works and asking them if they would be interested in joining us on something like this, like they did with Parks?
Well, I think that's a good idea. I think for me, the thing is figuring out what is it that we want to learn.
Right. I think that would be something, I guess I should
maybe that's
say
in
first outside of
conversation.
this group. So
Right.
tonight, if people have, or if we want to wait till next group meeting where we can go home, chew on it, and come back with, what do you want to see in this?
Well,
Yeah.
I know what's going to be coming up on the Wheatland project. There is going to be outreach. There is going to be questions, and along that whole. Right now, we're still forming, but that would be an example where we can get some input on a microcosm, and that's developing right now, not in 2020, 22, 23.
Right. And I'm sure it's a citywide opportunity to put input on that, but.
Well, it doesn't affect very many
It doesn't
people.
affect the whole city, that's,
I
yeah.
mean, you're talking about
But as
10% or less.
But it's an opportunity to at least experiment,
Sure, beta test the question, sort of.
kind of, see how the consultant can mirror some of these questions and stuff. It's an opportunity, because till we get into the transportation plan and that review and the funding, Public Works would say, fine, but no money.
Sure, right, yeah.
And we could do, the Survey Monkey, but it's, we're kind of spinning our wheels, because I like to implement things.
Oh,
Yeah, within the Kaiser way of doing things.
I agree with Hirsch in the sense, I think we want to weigh in and be engaged with the Wheatland project in
And
whatever
I'm
way that
going to
we
those-
can. And any individual project, however we structure a survey, any individual project that is done is almost by definition only going to affect a small section of the city and the population.
Not I mean, if you decide you want to do something on River Road between Dearborn
sure.
and Fred Meyer, you're going to affect 90% of the people living in Keizer.
It depends on the project.
So,
Right, and the
but you
question
take-
is,
Yeah.
go ahead, yeah, that people, yeah, and River Road is something that's
Yeah.
out there and.
Well, or
people are
Shimawa
thinking
or
about,
Vernon.
whatever.
Yeah, Wheatland's the least traveled of all.
But a lot of the things that we would have, again, and it depends on what we want to look at. Do we want to look at something that is global in its reach and
Well-
effect, or are we better off trying to find more targeted things that we can have maybe greater impact and influence on? I don't know.
With existing money.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I'm assuming, and if you haven't yet, read, or at least try to read the last transportation plan
Mhm.
and see what projects have been laid out to be done. And the need for those, I haven't looked at it the last 3 or 4 months, but the last time I read it, those all made sense.
Right.
The reason for them, the main roads that we were gonna do major stuff to haven't changed, except now we've added Wheatland, which wasn't involved anywhere. No, not much anyway. So you're still looking at River Road, the arterial, more arterial and whatever that next level down is called, streets, and had big things that needed to be done that haven't been done yet. So,
No, exactly. In the last transportation system plan, it was originally 2009, and I think it was updated in 2014.
14, 15, yeah.
But, and there are lists, we've got the lists of pedestrian improvement projects, bicycle transportation improvement projects. Virtually none of them have been done.
Right.
In the 11 years since this was formulated. So those are still out there.
And
And we've
transit.
talked about those in the
Transit,
context of other
Transit
things that we're
has
doing.
changed completely
Right. Yeah.
since that time. The 2014 was more of a stamp,
Yeah.
just
The
quick
consultant
reviews, just to keep
reviewed
the
it,
funding
yeah.
going.
And the funding comes from, is the Mid-Willamette Valley thing? A lot of it?
COG,
Yeah, and
And
to
that comes
skip
from
them,
federal,
I mean,
state
I think they need to have a much bigger role than, I mean, when we sit and talk about it, we should be talking with them. And they're willing to come in and talk
yeah,
again.
it's Mike Jaffe is
Yeah,
our
he's very good
contact.
about that. so.
Well, I think that's one of the questions that comes up with a new transportation system plan. As you said, this one was done, projects were identified, none of them were completed. Now, many of them are superannuated, or some of them are still legitimate. But with a new transportation system plan, then are those things going to get done? When projects are identified, what can we do as a committee to encourage that those projects actually get executed and
I think-
completed?
And see, and I agree with, because what you're saying is, if there was a real need for those projects and not just the personalities of the people, us, involved in picking them out. Now, when you change personnel, the whole plan changes. Something's wrong with that system if your plan changes just because you got a new city council, a new planning commission. Something's wrong in your process if it changed very drastically. So you at least admit that it's very flawed. So we don't have any faith in it.
The main flaw that I find in these transportation plans is that's what they are, and they can be very detailed, but there is no funding stream tied to them.
Exactly, yeah.
And this is statewide, it's not just the city of Kaiser. We plan, but there's money tied to it. So
Right, other
that's-
priorities arise and.
Yeah, all
That's
sorts of
what's wrong.
things.
Something's
And
wrong.
Kaiser, as we well know, is very budget conscious. And if,
Yeah,
But that's transportation plans. I had a mentor say, they're great wishful thinking.
Well, and I feel that way about all these, like, housing plans and all that. We're crystal balling 20 years in the future, and yet, a year ago today, who would have said what would have happened by March?
Yeah. But I still think it's important that we get in and get our input on those kind of things. And that as monies become available or through the budget committee, say, hey, we want this on Windsor Island Road. It's on the list, but let's move it up, or, let's do
that's
something.
more dealing with Public Works than with Budget Committee.
Rick?
Well, both, you have to.
Michael, I was just going to say, if there's a TSP update, sometime in the near future, it's going to have its own process like this. And so any survey that we would undertake now, we need to make sure that it's supportive of it, not redundant or in conflict
Sure.
with it.
And I would hope whatever we garner from it can feed into their information, and it is valuable to them and not just something to weigh down another bookshelf, you know what I mean? Wayne, did you have any? I know I kept looking this way.
No, I'm just listening at this point. And
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, I will make sure I'll bring this to their attention, like I said, and I'll push to, it makes no sense to have a traffic, bikeways, and pedestrian committee go through the TSP process and not involve this committee. That, to me, makes zero sense. That's what you guys focus on. It would seem to me they'd want to involve this committee with that process. So I'll certainly push for that.
Yeah, because we were also on the planning commission.
Yeah.
And the way I see the planning commission is they're fixing the code to feed, at least from the transportation standpoint, what's in the TSP.
And keep in mind, the TSP, just like any planning document, is as much a statement of, as you guys have suggested already, a vision for what you want the city to look like. Who better to do that than the Traffic, Bikeways, and Pedestrian Committee? So, that just seems to be good government to me, but maybe I'm wrong.
I agree. Okay, well, so,
Good idea.
oh, Rick, yes.
Just one more. I've had this, being the new guy on the committee, I've had this question before this meeting about this committee. Are we looking over the horizon and trying to be forward-thinking, or are we more reacting to issues that citizens or someone else brings up? I just wondered what our focus as a committee is.
Well, I would say it should be both. I don't know if I'd get a whole lot of argument, maybe I would, that, we talk about the future and what we want, but we have had a bit of a separation between what's going on to change something on, say, a road, add a lane or something, or a bike lane even, and what we talk about. So I think in an ideal world, we would be involved in the early decisions of how to make an improvement, whatever it may be. At the same time, people coming in saying, hey, we've got an issue with speeding or something, or we'd like a bike lane in our street. So, it should be both. Okay, so for the next meeting, if people can chew on this and come up with either their ideas of what they think a survey would get us, what we're looking for, or if you have specific questions you think you're already wanting to get, and then if you would think about if you would want to work on some type of subgroup. And then in the meantime, we could at least, put the idea out there for Public Works if this moves forward, if they have the interest or capacity to run the survey?
Next week, next month.
Next month, yes. Okay, so moving on, it's the Independent Sidewalk Program, and
Independence,
yes, and I will,
Independence, Oregon,
yes,
so we're talking about.
yeah.
It's a city.
That's this that I have up?
Yeah.
Okay.
If I remember right, that was a program where the city coordinated with the youth to work on sidewalks, and they coordinated with cement contractors.
There.
They were teaching youth how to,
Well, this is
with
the
some
Milwaukee
skills.
one.
Oh, no, this is what Milwaukee, this was Mike Jaffe sent this just
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah,
No, the Independence Program, oh, I'm not sure that I have this stuff on there for that.
Oh, it might be in the,
I'll check the email again.
yeah, it was,
But what Wayne is saying is correct, it was working. Oh, boy.
it was
Sorry.
included with the agenda for today's,
Okay. Do I have,
with
is
the
there,
packet for
is the
today's meeting.
agenda,
Yeah, it's, the Independence one is in here.
okay, so,
Yeah, I printed it out.
okay, so Wayne's right about that it was, sorry. See if it's, does this just have the agenda or the packet too?
Oh, that's just the agenda.
Okay, well, anyway, I won't get bogged down on technology. So they use the, what was it called? Community Services Consortium. And that is something that is focused on Lynn, Benton, and part of Polk County. I've reached out to them and to the Willamette Workforce Partners fairly recently, so I haven't gotten a response yet. If there's something similar that covers Marion County, unless someone else knows.
Well, it looks to me that the, for Marion County, the salient agency is the Empowerment and Leadership for Youth, Adults, and Youth and Young Adults Program. That's under the umbrella of the Willamette Workforce Partnerships. It's not clear to me, and I haven't done a lot of research on this, but that they do the same kind of youth training that the CSC does in terms of having construction, that kind of things.
My belief is Marion County doesn't.
Yeah.
And the thing that we do have is the CTEC Center.
That's what I was gonna suggest.
What?
CTEC, Salem Kaiser, forgot what the CTEC,
Career
but it's
Technical
basically high school
Education
kids doing all sorts
Center.
of.
Yeah. Now, it'd have to have something that they could, pull from a program to do. And then I know they have a building program, but I don't know if that's just this stick built kind of thing, or if it's wider.
They're building houses. Well, right now with COVID, everything is shut down, so.
What's the purpose of us looking at it?
Well, so this program, what they did was, I think it was where the program would pay for the concrete, is that how it was? And then then they'd get the youth to come out and actually demo if they had to and rebuild the concrete.
Well, actually, the homeowners, the interested homeowners, if somebody wanted their sidewalk repaired, they pay for the concrete, cement,
And the kids
and then
would
the
install.
kids
Okay.
come in
All right.
under the guidance of this.
This would
the
be something that
company
the
to-
CTEC Center.
And since we have a lot of degraded sidewalks, especially in South Kaiser,
Southeast, yes.
southeast Kaiser, yeah.
Yeah, and they're not cheap to repair or replace. And so I don't know, where the cost,
So really, whoever runs the CTEC program needs to want to do that?
Yeah, we'd be something we'd have to ask them
Would
if
they
they were
like
even
to?
interested, yeah. Or if they're not, if they could point us to an agency like this that would do it, or be interested.
And who pays for the cement, the city?
No, the property owner, because they're the
Oh, the
ones on the
property
hook. Yeah. So I don't know what it would cost for, 100 feet of sidewalk in just cement.
Oh, Public Works isn't here tonight, he can tell you.
And that's one of the salient parts of the Independence program was that it was in conjunction with Public Works, local Public Works as
Right.
well to, I think, identify, well, did they say the homeowner pays for the cement, but the labor is free? Public Works hauls off the old broken concrete.
And they, at least in this CSC one, in Independence, they work with Allied Concrete and Drilling. So, I don't,
Be completely different contractors here.
sure, but I'm
Okay,
just
does
saying we'd have to
anybody
find
have
out.
a contact in CTEC?
Yeah,
All right.
but there, nobody's there
Is
right
that
now.
part of the Salem Kaiser School District?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Oh,
Yes, it is.
I don't have a contact.
they're kind of hard to work with.
I'd say, one of the other things that the person who responded to the request for information on this said was that in earlier versions, we had an open call for homeowners who wanted their sidewalks repaired. In the current program, Public Works is identifying locations based on our complaint/enforcement list.
Right.
So I don't know how, again, that's something I think that this all got pulled together and Public Works was engaged and
I can tell you when we did Kennedy, the walk around. So I went back and I was tripping and stumbling and saying, these sidewalks are horrible in the neighborhood. So I went back and walked around and wrote a complaint on every house that had I considered major problems. It was if the tripping level of the concrete was 2 or more inches. Half of a block was missing and there was a hole. You couldn't run a stroller in front of somebody's house. I filed a complaint with the city through what's his name? Shane, I think it was Shane that charged that then. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I turned in about 30. I just did in front of Kennedy. So 30 out of probably 150 homes I looked at. Give you an idea how, a lot of it didn't have to, they had shrubs growing over the sidewalks and they hadn't swept in 5 years and stuff like that. But broken concrete on the old neighborhoods is a big problem and nobody wants to spend because it's kind of spendy.
And it might be a more daunting undertaking here than in Independence.
I don't know.
Well, I think it's interesting in Independence of where they were considering, because they don't have that many sidewalks.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I'm saying, is that it was probably a more limited
Independence has been
program there than it would be
Yeah,
here.
but no, you could do it you could walk around, and talk to people. Somebody could. Not right now, though. I can't get my vaccine for 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna say, this is taped, so everyone that you complained about is going to send you a nasty note.
Yes, I heard about that, yeah.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I just sent you, it's almost like you guys were watching our work session meeting the other night because sidewalks was an issue that came up. I just forwarded you a map that I received, the council received, showing all the sidewalks in the city of
Yes,
Kaiser.
we have that.
Oh, you have that? Okay.
Didn't we have it 2 weeks, last month?
We got it from Mike, from Council.
Just something like this, this inventory?
Yes.
Not exactly, but we just got it from Mr. Wood today, so I just sent it to you.
It's the sidewalks on each street, whether they're on both sides or one side or, yeah.
Or non-existent.
This one just talks about width and there or not there.
Mike, I have a question.
Yes.
Regarding sidewalks, my understanding is it's the homeowner's responsibility to repair their sidewalk currently. Apparently that's not getting done because sidewalks are in disrepair. What is the basis of that ruling? I mean, where did that policy come from?
It's a city policy, but yeah, and if you get a complaint, like, I was trying to think, I think there's one right at the end of the school at Kennedy over on Norend. The south end, the sidewalks have just worn out. There's no, I mean, where the driveway was, it now is just broken gravel and holes and in this case, the ladies who live there, they have 2 Social Security payments and no money, and thank God the house is paid for, and, you know, and they have a corner lot, and so it would be hugely expensive if you force them to. And the city can force them to repair it.
I guess my question would be, should the city look at the policy?
May I?
Yes, you are.
The city does have a program that will allow people to put in sidewalks. It's a local improvement district. The only one that I am aware of that was ever used for sidewalks is in Hornet Court. So if you wanted to go look at Hornet Court, they did a Hornet Court sidewalk local improvement district. And I believe, I'm not sure, but I think the way that works is they set up payments. And I'm not sure it has something to do with. No, they're assessed. That's right. They're assessed, and it is put on their county tax bill every year. So because they do that with lighting as well. But like I said, Hornet Court's the only one that I'm aware of they've ever done that with.
You have to get, I forgot what, is it 100% or 90%? The people have to sign off on it. It's pretty hard to do if you got a couple people who don't want to pay.
It is, David's right, it is policy, and I think it's even been adjudicated in courts to say that it's been, and it's not just here, it's universal.
It's not just a Kaiser.
No.
It's a national city one.
We had it in Portland and Newport.
Yeah.
It just seems like it's not effective if the homeowner can't afford it. And so,
Well,
they're never going to take care of it.
They get, the legal process is they get put on their house.
What, a
Forced
lien?
loan on their house. You know? What's the term? I'm not a lawyer.
A lien.
Well, we got a lawyer, a lien against the property, that's it.
The legal theory is that, recall, now I'm not a lawyer, I don't represent the city, I have to be careful, but for educational purposes, remember, your lot, most lots go to the center of the street, right? A certain portion of the property that you own is actually right-of-way that's been dedicated to the city. So the idea is the sidewalk in front of your house is actually an extension of your home that you are responsible for. And creative lawyers have managed to sue homeowners who have not taken care of the sidewalks appropriately.
The
Yeah,
Yeah, there's
difficulty
generally
is
a liability issue that goes with that.
That's
too.
exactly right.
Kaiser has a burden because we only became a city in 1982. Prior to that, there was all sorts of, this was county, and building went any way but loose.
Say no more.
And so Southeast Kaiser and parts of West Kaiser, were all built in the 50s and 60s on whatever the developer or the homeowner wanted to do at that point in time. So that's our dilemma. That's a safety issue, just go across the street here on Clark. Cars parked everywhere, but that's just the way it is in Kaiser,
One of the,
till we work on it.
is it budget, I can't remember now, is it budgeted for this year? Well, you wouldn't know, I guess. Is it budgeted for the Wheatland Road project where they were gonna finish the sidewalks? That's not the Wheatland Road project you're talking about.
No, we're talking,
The Wheatland Road project this year was supposed to be to finish all the sidewalks where all the gaps were. But I don't know if it's in the budget this year or it's supposed to be next year. Anyway, because when they built out there, all the older homes, like where I live, have no sidewalks.
That was
And all the
really
newer
rural, Marion County when,
Oh, yeah, I know, yeah,
and there, many of those places were farms.
like my house.
Yeah. So,
Anyway, so you're walking on Wheatland, you'll end up with a big strip there with no sidewalks. Another thing, and another issue, which has come up before, the property lines aren't parallel to the roads. So that you could have a lot that goes all the way out, say, just on Wheatland, for example, you have your lot, your property goes all the way out to the asphalt on Wheatland Road. The next person's lot is 15 feet shorter, they're 15 feet from the road. So you have an easement, and you don't necessarily, you're gonna have to fight for the easement on this other property line, and that's all over, at least North Kaiser. It's interesting because you can't straighten the road out. You can't put a sidewalk in where you don't have an easement.
But you could put in a nice twisty, curvy sidewalk.
Yes, but right now, there's like on a couple places where you'd have the sidewalk, you either have to get easement or put the sidewalk in the southbound lane, because there's no property. Or buy the easement, or you can take the easement, I think, legally.
Okay, well,
I don't know.
Well, I think also sidewalks are just in sort of a gray area, because while the first responsibility is with the homeowner, I don't think it's necessarily sole responsibility. For example, in the transportation system plan, there are a lot of projects for constructing and repairing sidewalks.
Yes.
It's, do you want to foist it off on the homeowner in the first instance, and then at some point, if that's an allocation of public resources, are we going to spend money on sidewalks, or are we going to require the homeowners to maintain sidewalks after they've been constructed?
Well, the current city policy is the homeowner is responsible for the sidewalks, if there is one.
yeah. So, do I hear any support for at least trying to reach out to CTEC to see if they would be interested in this type of program, or if they can direct us to another agency that
Sure.
would be?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think Public Works, Bill might even know of some contacts.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Why would you limit yourself to CTEC? Why not like Boy Scouts or other organizations like that have volunteer groups?
The one reason why I think we were looking at some agencies like this or CTEC is because of the consistency of the staff running it, and it's their job to run it, versus Boy Scouts where you have so much volunteerism that you're kind of trying to shoehorn that in everyone else's daily life.
Yeah, I think trying to find an analogy to the Independence Program, which used the Community Services Consortium. They have a specific training program that deals with construction and that sort of thing. So they're using students who are doing that. So I think in the first instance, trying to find someone or seeing if that's something that CTEC does, great. If it's not, then we cast around maybe for something else.
Right. Yeah, I certainly don't want to say CTEC or nothing. It's just, unless someone else had another suggestion, that was the best idea that I think we've come up with.
Good point. A lot of our projects, if you haven't been to the gazebo, you have to go. That's a good paint job. That was the Eagle Scouts did that as a project. So,
yeah, I certainly wouldn't want to tell them no, for sure.
It would be good for a one-time only, like if you were putting sidewalks in one place once. I mean, I used to work with the Explorer groups, and they were really great, but usually it's a one-time, like the gazebo, it's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
So if you're looking at saying, can we do 50 houses in Kaiser in the next 3 years? It probably wouldn't fit in with their program too well.
Yeah.
Might, I know you could talk to them.
Well, so, would Debbie be the one to ask Bill? Or should we ask Bill, or how would we do
Well,
that?
Debbie shouldn't do it.
No, I think, and you're the chair, I would
Okay.
say probably you should. Normally I would say Mikey, but.
Right, he's not.
here.
Yeah, okay, so I'll ask, Bill, and then do you want me to reach out to CTEC?
Well, why don't you, see if Bill knows somebody down there
Yeah. that sounds
in the
like a good
school
idea.
district.
Because they keep, every time I get exposed to them, they've gotten another project, except for this last year. You know, they started out just as a kind of a drafting laser group. And the next thing I hear is they're building really unique boxes for the wine industry, in their food service and personal service industry. So they're moving on. I know they're built a couple houses. So,
Depends who's teaching the classes.
So is somebody going to contact CTEC as well? You're going to do both?
Yeah,
Well, check with Bill first.
yeah, I'll reach out to Bill first, then CTEC, and,
they build some of the best bicycle racks.
okay.
Okay, next.
Yeah, next. Number 8, appearance of interested citizens.
And I would like, can we move that next time on the agenda up second?
Yeah.
I don't,
Yes, I don't know how it is.
Yeah, I was just looking at it.
well, I just, over the years,
Yeah, it was after the minutes, I think.
I worked in a school, if the school district put interested citizens at the bottom of their agenda on the assumption that everybody
It would
would
go
get kicked off and
away.
go home.
Well, be that as it may, I'm not seeing anyone. So, we didn't put anyone out tonight, so.
Right.
Okay, moving on, project reports. Wayne?
The Odot Community Path Program, we had an opportunity to put forth an idea. The ideas that we came up with were not valid ideas at the time. Deadline's already come and gone, so it's going to be about another year and a half before that cycle is open again. So we really don't need anything right now. If we expand the urban growth boundary, there is a possible path that Bill Lawyer, Director of Public Works, says would be a viable path. And that's behind the power station and then out towards, on the existing sewage easement. And then it would go over to Country Glen Park and then Hidden Creek Park. And so it would, as a possible future idea. So I'd like to keep that idea alive.
And just so you know, I still haven't heard from the Corps about my idea for the wetlands by the schools, so.
Which one?
Oh, I had there's the wetlands behind
Right.
Claggett Creek and
Behind Weddle?
Yeah, behind Weddle.
From Weddle to Rite Aid.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but this would get up to those streets. A boardwalk is what I was thinking.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing, that I looked down.
Yeah.
Remember to make sure it doesn't float away.
Well, yeah, right. But it's a mitigation site for the construction of the schools, and so the Corps would have to approve that within the mitigation site. I have not heard back from them yet. Okay, is that all?
That's all I have.
All right. We could either bounce around, or I could go, and then, would you like to go, Steve?
My report is, at the last meeting, I distributed this information about the various existing plans or holes and inventories of the sidewalks. What I would propose to do at this point is I'd like to go to the individual neighborhood associations with this information and start to solicit their input on what they, since they have kind of the better finger on the pulse of the local needs, solicit their views or see what they might want to do about collecting information about where they see the priorities in their neighborhoods with regard to the connectivity. So if everybody's okay with that, I'll start that outreach.
It's interesting. I like to play with Google Maps. I don't know if any of you, I know Hirsch and I have been there, but there's a mobile home park right behind Kennedy Elementary. So if you go up Kaiser Road, it's the last thing. And it's just a little entrance there. There's 60, 80 houses, units in there. And I'm not kidding. Last time when I drove through there, you can't drive very fast because there's kids and people when the nice weather everywhere. If you're in there, you have to come all the way back out to get onto the Salem bike path, which is right behind their houses. And I was looking, so you blow it up and look at all the property. When we were talking about connectivity, if you're at the end of that group of homes, you have to walk all the way back out to Kaiser Road, walk around the block to get to the school, which was 30 feet from your backyard. So there was no, I mean, it's just an example.
No connectivity.
Yeah.
Right, none at all. And you can't get to the bike path and you can't get to the elementary school. And it's interesting is that when you go look at the entrances, the planned entrances to the Salem Parkway bike path, there aren't very many. There's room for some, but somebody'd have to pay for it. I mean, pay for the asphalt signage.
And that is, as we learned, ODOT's jurisdiction.
Yeah.
We have given some input, when Pat was on the committee,
Yeah.
we gave some input. The park, the trailer park that's all private streets.
Oh, yeah.
That's all private land, so.
Oh, I'm just saying it was the worst example of connectivity I've ever seen, because there's so many people. I mean, I don't know, at least, I would count it 60 when I was in there.
That's an elementary school, right?
Yes, it is.
Kennedy, yeah.
Trying to pull
Right behind Kennedy Elementary. Look on the map, it's surprising, because you would never notice it from the street.
The park itself was developed after the Parkway.
Yeah. And it's, just regarding planning, it's really needed. I mean,
But again, it was county at that time.
yeah, but it's just packed, and there's no vacancies in there at all.
Okay,
For only low-income housing.
so, yeah, definitely do that.
I will proceed.
Great. Next would be me. So I was going to bring out the ODOT sidewalk inventory. So let me just pull up. Oh, here we go. So it's still draft form, but doesn't matter for us if we were going to do something similar to their program. And it's a sidewalk accessibility inventory, and it's focusing on ADA, but you're looking at the width of the sidewalk, the condition, if there's lips, like you're saying, obstructions. And I don't know if our inventory is better than what these maps show, because as I said, what I'm seeing is, the width of the sidewalk, if it's present or absent. I wasn't seeing, at least in these maps, a condition inventory. And I don't know if we have that. Does anyone know if we have a condition inventory?
I don't think
I'm
so.
not aware of one.
So if, piggybacking on what Stephen's doing, if there is a neighborhood association that says, yeah, this area is a concern to us, it would allow us to collect more information about that sidewalk. And it goes pretty quickly because you're just doing a few data collection that's not slope or, structural integrity of the concrete or porosity or anything like that. So what do we, any idea of the interest of us participating in something like that as a committee?
You mean evaluating?
So, yeah, once we've got an area where we decide, hey, that sounds like there's a strong local request for improvement, then we would go out and just working with those people to.
I would do it, I'd do that, but you don't need a lot of people to do it. Depends how big the area is, but
Right.
if you're talking about 4 or 5 square blocks, I've done that before. I would do it, but it doesn't mean anybody else has.
The neighborhood associations, as they're the first resource.
That's what I was thinking, is that I could, in terms of outreach to them, find out first if they have any concerns or are interested in looking at the concerns in the neighborhoods and sort of distributing that or delegating that out to them if they have an interest in doing that sort of survey or inventory.
Now, Kaiser neighborhood associations do not cover all of Kaiser.
No.
Right.
So we'll have to, we'll.
But,
figure out how to do it
between
together.
southeast, and that's the problem area, and west, and then the Gubser, you should be able to get some good start.
Yeah. I think
And
that's right.
southeast kind of has, kind of been the big mama bear to, the Kennedy area too, so, and so is Gubser.
Yeah, well, and I think it'd be great to get that, that, say, 3-block area that the homeowners or renters, whatever they be, would want to participate, great, but I think it would be good outreach too, for them to see us and see that we're there, trying to help them too.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, that'll be tiered off of whatever you can get from your contacts.
Very good.
Okay, moving on. Hirsch.
Bikes friendly designation. Work group from this group in 2017 and again in 2018 did the application through the League of American Bicyclists to get Kaiser designated as a bicycle friendly community. And in both 17 and 18, we got honorable mention. We thought we'd be a little higher, but one of the key complaints or feedback was we had no educational component in the schools. And, a lot of the evaluators are all back east, and a lot of the schools in a city are one and the same, and we're not. I was proposing us to do it again for 2021 to 2022, because we do now have a educational component through to at least 2 of our schools, Cummings and Kennedy, through the Safe Routes to School, and there's an actual coordinator. So that's kind of a new change. The mayor was on the COG committee to help approve that funding. The funding is there. They haven't done a lot because the kids aren't there. But that's, I'm on the steering committee, so I know that the energy and everything is there for the Safe Routes to School coordinator and working for these 2 schools. So I've proposed that we do this again, and The application form should be out late March. And Steve's volunteered to work on it. Most of the data that can be I was wishing Mike was here, but most of the data that, demographic information hasn't changed between 2017 and 2018. So we can use a lot of old data and just add some new information, especially about the Safe Routes to School coordinator. But it does require a little bit of staff time. So I need to probably go to city council and get that approval to use, to do that application process.
Should we do that?
Anytime.
Are you willing to go to the city council and ask?
Mm-hmm.
You're
Because I've done
asking
it
for
before.
time, right? Okay,
Yeah, well, probably do it as part of the committee report.
okay. All in favor of you doing that?
Because Steve's already volunteered to help
Okay.
with it. Last time it was John Henry, Maurice, and Pat and I. And then Mike worked a lot with us getting the data, but the data's already there, so it's just rewording some things, emphasizing our educational component.
Are we gonna need a letter from the school district regarding that safe routes to school position?
I can get it through the council governments, because actually Mike Jaffe is her.
Oh, okay.
Boss,
Okay.
technically.
Well, then you can probably get it.
Yeah, so that's not a problem to emphasize, but that might move us up a little bit. The advantage for a city to be designated comes more from possible tourism. I'm not aware of any governmental grants, but there are private grants that might be available to a city project, whatever, that having that designation might move you farther up the line. Like if we got a grant to do something at one of the parks, bike-wise, or putting in some really good bike racks at our parks, REI might, through their process, I'm just picking on REI because I was there today, they might say, oh, you're also a bike-friendly city. Okay, we're willing to do that.
In some, if you're not familiar with that program, in some cities, the Chamber of Commerce does all that.
Yeah.
Because they have a vested interest in terms of money. I mean, it brings people in.
And for the city, there's no cost, there's no charge for it, except for Kaiser would be some staff time to do the compiling and stuff.
Sounds good.
So,
Sounds good.
when's the next council meetings? Next week, isn't it?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, January 19th, and it's Stephen's turn.
So,
Do you mind if I show up with you?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Because the sooner we let the city council know that we're wanting to do that, and if by some, if League of American Bicyclists application, they move it up, we're right there.
Are they conducting the city council meeting in person?
I believe the January meetings are all going to be in person.
Do we have any input to the Kaiser Chamber of Commerce? Anybody know anybody? Because I don't.
Yeah.
I know a few people.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just wondering if, at least it should be a piece of information that they'd be interested in knowing that we're doing.
Sure, and I'm gonna bring it to their attention.
Okay,
Absolutely.
because I've talked, as people I've dealt with that are business owners did things and they were interested in it, but we're not ready for that yet.
Well,
Where they sign up for it.
well, there's two programs for businesses. Through the League of American Bicyclists, this is kind of a national thing, and it does cost a business to go through the application process. The state of Oregon, through Travel Oregon, has a program for a bicycle-friendly business, and it's technically free, but there are some things that you would have to, like Councilor Roth, if you wanted to be a bike-friendly business, which you could be, you don't have to be a hospitality, but they would check, do you have a bike rack? Little things like that. And then that's free for businesses. And you would be advertised on the state website, which is literally all over the world.
See, I didn't know if the chamber people, they need to be reminded, I guess. I think you told them once
Yeah.
before, but we need to remind them of that. Because it's like anything, you forget to do it.
Travel Oregon and the Scenic Bikeway people, we met with the chamber, maybe going on 3 years ago, to talk about the program, and didn't get anybody in Kaiser just yet. However, I've heard that, and I'll talk about the monster cookie later.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Jamie's not here, so we'll jump over to David. Do you have anything for?
Yeah, first off, is because of the pandemic, there's no money anywhere for anything.
Yeah.
Well, I was
Sidewalks, though, the safe routes to parks and safe routes to schools, theoretically, you could involve sidewalks.
Correct. Yeah.
And okay, that's all I can say. That's about all there is to it. But in Kaiser, if you want sidewalks, you have to form a local improvement district, which is pretty difficult to do because if a couple neighbors don't want to spend the money, you're not going to get the lights or you're not going to get the sidewalks in. Bill Lawyer's been very good about helping on it's kind of like stuff that wasn't budgeted for, but by the end of the year, there might be some money left over somewhere to do something. And so we ended up with, maybe an improvement or gravel or some driveways improved upon that weren't hugely expensive, but it's a really iffy depending upon how things go. And Bill's been really good about cutting all the corners you could. So, anyway, that's about it.
So,
Mr. Chair, I took the liberty of putting that in for David because he didn't have a project and neither did Rick. It doesn't mean they have to do it, but it was one thing that I thought that, they could do on the internet or wherever, looking to see if there aren't opportunities out there for small projects that would fund somebody's, something besides here in Kaiser, the money, I mean, either state level or even the national level, to see if there was any kind of programs that had funding for sidewalks. But that doesn't mean just because I put it under your name. I also changed it to.
I haven't seen much for sidewalks.
David, I changed it on my copy right here to sidewalk condition inventory. Was I correct in understanding that you were willing to do that, to go check out sidewalks?
Well, not inventory, but to evaluate.
Evaluation? Okay, I'm going to put that for you then, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
See if I can get some more people mad at me. Look, if you had your shrub, somebody got mad because their shrub totally obscured the side. It was holly tree, 6 feet wide over the sidewalk. You had to go in the street, sidewalk wouldn't work. They got all upset.
You need a battery-powered clippers. Go around.
I could need to carry a different flag.
Okay, well, Rick, obviously, I won't put you on the spot because this was dropped on your lap, so.
are you okay with that, Rick, doing that? Okay. And if you think of something else you would rather do that maybe the committee hasn't decided on,
Yeah.
that would be okay too.
This is fine for now.
Okay.
Okay, so committee member input. We'll start with you, Rick. Do you have anything to tell us about that you might be working on or know about that's related to traffic safety?
No, first mentioned the Wheatland project, and so I live out,
Yeah.
maybe after me, I'd like to know
Okay.
what that's all about.
Is your mic on?
Pardon me?
Is your mic on? Your mic?
Excuse me.
Okay.
So Hirsch, if I could grab you just for a minute.
Yep, no
after-
problem. We'll be out in the lobby.
Does that, let me ask a question about that. Does that involve the River Road intersection and Manzanita and that whole area right there?
Well, it's a planning deal, for the planning, but it's from the River Road all the way to the county line. But they're
The
taking,
city limits,
or the city limits.
Jack Street, that's Wheatland?
Yeah,
That's Jack
Yeah.
Street, Jack Road?
but they're taking information all the way out to Ravenna because of being a
'Cause the
scenic
city plans on
byway
taking
and all
it, yeah.
that, and trucks, and so they're, right now, it's the early stages of the planning groups. You know, the contractor, we've gotten the contract, and they're starting to lay things out. Kind of made it a little bit slower because of COVID. You can't do meetings like you would like. So we've been doing just, I think, 3, since December, or October, 2 Zoom meetings. So it's early.
Okay, Stephen, any?
Yeah, just a couple things. One, just want to commend Public Works. One of the things that happened with all the recent rain, for all of this, only the second time since I've lived out off of Tepper, the pedestrian underpass under the railroad tracks got flooded and was impassable. They closed it off. The last time that happened was 3 or 4 years ago, and it was closed for a couple of weeks before they were able to get that drained. Today, this happened just yesterday or the day before, and Public Works was out there this evening pumping that out and getting it cleared, so I was happy about that. The second thing is part of my liaison responsibilities this month. I monitored the Planning Commission meeting last night, and the main piece of business there was they were considering an amendment to the Kaiser Development Code to allow certain kinds of composting facilities as a conditional use on general industrial property. The specific impetus for this amendment is a company, a Minnesota company that wants to site an enclosed composting facility in Kaiser Station between LaBiche Ditch and the BPA facility. And this would entail bringing in a bunch of repurposed shipping containers and using those for composting. The amendment to the code would still exclude outside static pile and open windrow kinds of compost. So these are like totally enclosed thing. So ostensibly they do not create an odor, and they're environmentally safe. The concerns that the commission talked about and asked about were environmental concerns about air and particularly water, since it's near LaBiche, that what would happen potentially with runoff or leachate, and they said, well, there shouldn't be any of that. And then also traffic considerations with the trucks and whatever coming in and out of the area, which is something that we may want to keep an eye on as this ultimately maybe comes to fruition, because this is like the very first step. There would still be all kinds of applications. They would require both a conditional use permit and a change to the Kaiser Station master plan to allow that particular kind of business. So the commission voted to accept the staff report and refer the proposal to City Council. And I think, were they going to consider that at the upcoming, the next month's meeting, the February 8th meeting?
Yes, the agenda packet was already done for this coming council meeting, so it will be in February.
And that's a joint planning commission, city council meeting?
No, the
is
joint
that it?
planning commission meeting is for something else,
Oh,
and that's a
okay.
work session. So this will be, it'll either be the meeting before that, the beginning of February, or the middle of February, the regular sessions.
And I think part of that was also confirmed at the meeting was that Chick-fil-A is the mystery restaurant that was applying for an Area D sighting. So we may or may not have that to look forward to. Also reference, they talked about just in passing the Wheatland project is something that they're continuing to work on. So that is the Planning Commission meeting report.
Okay, thank you. David, any input?
Oh, a couple trivial things. I was trying to think of the street, but do you all know where O'Neill is? Runs parallel to River Road. It's the last, up from Park Meadow over to Clear Lake Road. If you look in detail at the property lines, it goes down and then 6 feet out to, some people's property line goes out to the road, asphalt. There's no easement for sidewalks when the county platted that whole area. So some of them have easements and some of them don't. And several years ago, we tried to put a sidewalk down the west side. That was part of it, and there was somebody owned a home, and they were upset that people were parking in front of their house, so they put boulders out in front of their, I think they're still there, maybe, if you drive down there. So the people couldn't park in front of their home. And it's legal because there's no sidewalk easement in that group, and they weren't gonna give it to anybody. It wasn't worth arguing over. Second thing was, and we don't have them here too much. We had a bunch in Portland, and when I was in New York, there were tons of them. E-scooters, those little electronic scooters, the little wheel things.
Yeah, they had in Portland, they had.
Right, we have a bunch in Portland.
There.
They have an accident rate more than 5 times the rate for bicycles. So it was, I forgot what the rate for bicycles was. I'm gonna make it up, so suppose it was 5 per 100,000 bicycle miles driven. And for e-scooters was 28 per 100,000 miles driven. Anyway, it was very, very, for some reason, nobody knew why, but they just said that. Third thing was, you mentioned the storm water, the problem we had. I live on, right near Park Meadow on Wheatland, but we're level, and then it drops pretty steep bank right behind my house. The stormwater drain goes through my neighbor's yard and drops down, and there's a 4-foot manhole, steel manhole cover down there somewhere. And when it rains like it did the other night, all the water collects, and as it comes in, it goes down that last chute down to Clear Lake, or Claggett Creek and Clear Lake. It blows the manhole cover, but it's so big and so heavy, it only blows it up in the air about 4 inches. And then it slams down, and I'm 50 yards away in the middle of the night, and it sounds like somebody's hammering on the side of your house with a hammer. And it'll keep that up for up to an hour, about every 2 or 3 minutes. And we sent, the stormwater people went down there, and they say the lines are clear. It's just odd, when they get too much water too quick.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's about it.
Hershey, any?
Well, I got a couple things I've been doing. I'm on the Safe Routes to School Steering Committee through the Council of Governments, and we've been, even though there's no activities per se with the kids, because we're not in the classroom or on the school ground, been doing other little activities. Our meetings have been Zoom, but some of the activities that we have done is we did some helmet fitting in September here in Kaiser, and doing some bike repair through the Northwest Hub in the school neighborhood areas. So the last meeting looks like at least some of the elementary kids might be starting in February-ish. So we might be able to start doing some sort of activities. And in Kaiser, it is Kennedy Elementary and Cummings Elementary. Kennedy has a policy that they developed in partnership with this committee that if a kid, they have to wear helmets on school grounds. And if a kid can't get a helmet, they contact David or I and we get them a helmet and fix it. So, but we haven't been able to do much because the teachers haven't been there in the school, but hopefully we'll start once they get back to school.
Hirsch, this year, and I was just thinking about this, it would be nice if somehow, I don't know how it would work, but somewhere about May, if we could get together with Hub or do some minor bike repairs and helmets before summer starts, because once summer starts, we lose the kids.
Well, that's
Either through the PTA at Kennedy or something.
well. See, the Safe Routes to Work, Routes School Coordinator is working right with the principal and the whole works.
Yeah.
The liaison from Northwest Hub, Emily Loberg, was hired by.
Yeah.
So, that can happen. It's just COVID.
And I was going to tell our new members, I don't know if you knew this or not, but we buy helmets and sell them. We buy them for $10 and we sell them for $5.
But we fit the helmets,
But
we just don't.
We fit the helmets on the kids, and we've been working at fire department open houses, public works open houses. We've worked the church, which church? River?
Lake Point,
Lake
but
Point Church does a big
surface.
event in August usually.
Yeah, and the
Something like
police
that.
department and the fire department,
Yeah.
when they run into a situation, a couple years ago, the police department run into a thing at Samoka House that they needed
Yeah.
the kids, and we fitted helmets
Yeah.
so.
So we, somewhere along the line, before I actually, about the time I started, we got a state grant for a couple $1,000.
Yeah.
And then somebody gave us some money.
Right. It's
And
been
with
going on
that,
since
we're still
97.
working on that money. Because if we sell them, because we lose a little every time we sell one, but it, works out.
And to kind of, I have that on there, is also, when I go to city council, I think we need to ask them if it's okay if we go out and jingle some pockets for a little bit of money.
Yeah.
For the helmet program.
And the account, I don't know why, is part of the city of Kaiser. So we have to be really careful. We can't give helmets to kids from Salem or whatever. We're kind of restricted.
Well.
And they keep the money for us, keep track of it.
I think David and I figured out since the program
Yeah.
started in 97, probably around 6,000 helmets we've fitted.
And they're new and they're
Good helmets. They meet standards, so.
Yeah.
Next week, is all-day Zoom meeting. That's gonna be fun. Oregon Department of Transportation's Traffic Safety Annual Meeting. I'll be attending that as the bicycle representative. It's both on the 20th and 26th, so that's their annual meeting and developing their annual plan for the following year. So get some input on that one. The Monster Cookie was canceled this last year because of COVID, and I'll be the coordinator of this, and this is one of the largest and is the oldest recreational bike ride in the state of Oregon. And it's for 44 years. Next year, this year will be 45th. It started at the Capitol building, winded through Salem, Kaiser, heads north to Shampooey, and then a return. Well, we can't start in April because of COVID, so we've moved it to June 27th. However, we can't start at the Capitol building anymore. the
started at the
Capitol Mall.
park across the street? We started across the street from the,
We have for 44 years at the Capitol, but because of security issues and things like that, they don't want us there. Because we're talking about
yeah, how many thousand?
between 1,000 and 2,000 cyclists.
The
So-
fairgrounds.
Yeah, and because of the issues this year, they just said, please, please, no. So we're looking to move it close to the route, existing route, and the places that we have looked at, and we've got at least tentative yeses, is Volcano Stadium, Kaiser Rapids Park, and McNary High School. We haven't heard from Willamette University, but that might be, they don't have as much parking. And see, with the Capitol Mall, cyclists from all over, Portland, Seattle, we had groups coming from California,
Yeah.
whatever. That yellow lot would handle all the parking, so we have to have some parking. And Kaiser Rapid Parks, Bill's team said yes, but you need to develop a site plan and then we'll evaluate your site plan. So I'm gonna be working on that next week and whatever. And McNary High School, Eric Jesperson, the principal, is all for it, but the district said wait till February, because COVID and everything. Volcano Stadium, Jerry Walker said yes, but $1,200.
Oh,
So, well, if the state parks had said yes for the mall, their new policy is, it used to be free to us up till, 2019. It was free. It'll be $150 plus $1 per person. So,
oh, wow.
so that puts it between $1,200 and $2,000 right away, so.
Was the Riverfront Park considered?
They have an event. And the problem with Riverfront Park, and Becky George from the city of Salem said, you realize there's no parking there.
Yeah, you'd have to go.
Is there
just
enough
the-
parking at Wallace Marine Park?
I think
There
so.
might be.
Well, I
but-
mean, you got the bridge right there, the bike bridge.
Yeah, but
And it lands you right, but of course, then you're on Front Street, right?
We
and
used to have one of the starting points for Reach the Beach was Wallace Marine Park, and I don't remember why they stopped doing that.
there's a fee for both parks, so if we use both parks, there's fees for both.
Yeah.
And we'll be working with the Kaiser Police Department because they've been our partners for at least 25 years on this. So we're just going to have to move out of Salem, and we'll see what happens. See how good it is. I know the Kaiser Police will do anything for one of those cookies.
Have you considered starting at Shampooey and come back?
Then our logistics.
Oh, okay. Never mind, I'm just jumping in.
Getting our logistics started here, yeah, we've thought of that. In Shampooey, there's no problem, we can reserve it. But the Capitol Mall has become an issue with the damage and stuff that has occurred there in this last couple of years. They're just changed their policy. So we're not going to be able to start there, at least this year, maybe next year. However, if we're really successful here in Kaiser, you never know. And the chamber has indicated that they have an interest. Salem Kaiser Transit, their Trip Link group, have said that they would like to sponsor the Monster Cookie. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. So when I go to City Council next week with Steve, I'll ask about the LAB designation and that we can get money for the helmets. And we've gotten money from Rotary, we've gotten money from individuals.
Got money from the Salem Bike Club.
Yeah, the bike club gave money one year, so.
Did somebody walk up and hand us $200 one year?
Yeah, and for $200, we can buy about 20 helmets.
Oh, no, yeah, we can buy 20, but then we can turn around and buy 10, and then we buy 5.
Yeah, but,
So, because we get half of it back each time. So,
Yeah.
35 helmets for $200.
but if there's an emergent need, we just fit the helmet and say, go.
Yeah.
We don't charge. Like the call from the Smoka House, we just
I
fit.
fit some kids down at the police station about
Mhm.
5 years ago, so.
That's about it. So I'm busy enough.
Yeah. So Debbie was on the email chain there. I had seen this email from, I got an Odot update, weekly update about projects, and they did this upgraded crossing for schools. It's on the north end of town in Silverton, the Roths. I don't know if you guys know where that is.
Mhm.
So just north of that, there was like a school, I don't know all the details, but I know they decided they needed a safer crossing. So I just reached out to them and said, hey, or to the project manager and said, hey, I'd like a little more information about that, and they did, and through that, they tied me into all these other folks. Some of these names you may know. There's Jenna Berman, who's the active transportation liaison, and she was working with Pat on the signs for the Parkway. She's interested in coming and talking about projects with us. Nicole Charlson, apparently she's attended some TSBP meetings in the past, but I can't
Yes, yeah.
place the face right now.
It was some time ago that she was.
I think it was before you were on.
Oh, okay, good. That makes me feel like I'm not losing my memory
She
then.
goes to a lot of the traffic safety meetings.
Yeah, and she would like to come again. Keith Blair,
Do you remember Keith Blair? He used to be on this.
he was about 10 years ago, he said. So he reached out and said hi, and Lou Torres was the guy who was actually the one that was the project manager for the Silverton project. I don't know if he was there when you were there, but.
I know the name.
Okay.
I'm indirectly related to him.
Oh, all right.
My niece's father-in-law.
Okay.
Interesting.
So,
Small world.
just thought that, perhaps we can get some of them to come and talk and maybe even help us find some money. A couple of things that Hirsch had sent the email about the Salem Parkway signs. Mike sent the email back saying that must have been something done by Salem. I don't know.
I got more details.
Did you?
At the end of Cherry, where the bicycles, pedestrians going north or southbound, there's that island, and it was tore up to redo the signaling, which understand. But they rerouted the pedestrians all the way to Sam Orchid's way to go across. When it was like, why would you send a walker or a cyclist almost a mile when there were all these other alternatives? And it wasn't Odot. It was City of Salem. And I got feedback from Gary Obrey. Do you know Gary? He's the bike engineer. And he said, why don't you, he said, I can't believe anybody at ODOT would have signed off on that. That was something that Salem just did. But they sent people all the way into Kaiser, and they were kind of alluding that they'd go on River Road. And it's like, we don't like that section of River Road for bicycling and everything. So I don't know what they were doing. So Gary suggested that I write something up and just send it on to the little thing called Ask ODOT. Because Doug Perro, who brought up the issue, got nowhere with Salem. And Salem didn't even, with this committee, they could have said, we got this project, got any ideas? That's why I asked Mike, and he didn't even know, he was like the rest of us, he saw it, but it's a Salem project, so that was a kind of my concern is, why didn't you ask? Now, I realize Salem does not have their traffic safety is not bike or anything, it's more engineering, and there's no bike advocates or pedestrian advocates on that, so they didn't even use that. So I was a little disappointed in the fact that they routed people into Kaiser without even letting Kaiser know, hey, by the way.
Yeah, that's surprising considering they're spending all that time on that, what's the name of that bikeway that they're built? The one through the older part of town that takes you out to Auto Group Way. And,
Yeah, that part of the scenic bikeway.
yeah.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. It was a little, because why are you routing them all the way down to San Marcos by Weimar to turn around and come back?
Okay, well, yeah, because I even asked one of those Odot ladies, Nicole or Jenna, and they didn't know about it either.
Well, Gary is the bike person biking in, and he just said, I can't believe anybody would do that, so, and he
Yes,
just
why?
put it in, ask ODOT, because it goes to a higher level, he says.
So, I don't know if Mike would be the one to answer this, but does anyone know, I saw some surveying going on Verda, near the school street.
Which one, where?
Near
By
the
Kennedy
Parkway.
or down by
By Weddle.
Whittle? Yeah.
Does anyone, and I saw ODOT on their safety vests, so do you know?
Yeah, I saw them today too. I don't know what they're doing.
That's been in the works for quite a while, and now they're starting, there's going to be some improvements on that section of Verda.
And why is ODOT involved?
I think they're part of a grant.
Oh, okay.
A lot of our road big projects are almost all grants that are through ODOT.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. Wayne. Oh, Wayne.
Don't really got nothing new
You don't
for the
wanna
committee.
leave him
Well, I wasn't done yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I wasn't done. Sorry, Wayne. Just something that was brought to me by someone else, and just something I had thought about, and maybe I've said this before, I can't remember. But in the past, we've talked about some of these pedestrian accidents, and we've gotten some information from Kaiser PD. Is there an opportunity to do kind of an after-action site visit where we could talk about what happened and maybe kind of brainstorm some safety features that we could bring to Public Works to incorporate at a certain intersection or something?
Well, once the case are adjudicated, the reports are available to be reviewed. There's a process with our records department for that. Honestly, I don't think this is the forum for that, though, especially a live forum during our meetings.
No, I'm saying like we'd go out as maybe one or two of us would go out with KPD, go through the report and just say, hey, this is what we saw. And
So that would require staff time. So again, that would be something that the city council would have to approve as far as the staff time that would be involved with it.
Okay.
As far as sidebar and short conversations and things like that, certainly I'd be more than happy to talk about some of the events, things of concerns, but 99.9% of what our job is not just to find out, if there's any criminal act, but also if there's any liability on the city and the roadways and the engineering and things like that too. Mm-hmm. So those things are, if there's any issues that are brought up, are pushed through for the engineers of the city too. But again, this wouldn't be the forum to talk about any details to see if there's any of those.
It'd be nice to know of your recommendations, though. Once you're moving those on to Public Works, it'd be nice because every once in a while go off half tangent, you've already done it.
Yeah.
So, no, I know there's a lot of curiosity, but again, I have two sides that I have to be able to stay within those boundaries on. But again, with something we can talk about certainly after the meeting if you'd like to.
Okay, sounds good. All right, that's all I have. Now you're up, Wayne.
Thank you. I really don't have anything to contribute. I've been riding bicycles a lot. Someone should ask me how far I went in 2020.
How far'd you go, Wayne?
6,767 miles.
So, was Lois right behind you?
She was on 3,000 of those miles.
Very good, very good.
You made up for my lack of riding this year.
That's all I have.
Okay. All right, moving on. Mike's not here. Debbie, did he have anything to share? I know the email was pretty quick.
He didn't give me anything to share.
Okay. All right, Sergeant Ledet.
There's nothing new to report right now. Guys are keeping busy. Roadways are being used. Unlike the first spell when we had COVID and everything was shut down, roadways were pretty empty. Roadways are pretty active right now still.
Has the number of accidents gone down because of the lack of traffic?
You know, the whole volume of it appears to be on just the actual visual, but until we actually dive into our data collection,
Okay.
which we'll be doing here in the next month for the annual report, that'll actually show a little bit more. I mean, COVID has absolutely just thrown a complete spin on what our efforts are as far as measuring with data, because we don't have we're not playing with the same numbers now.
Yeah.
So, our efforts to try and bring our crashes down, it's always going to be in question at this point until we can get back to some normalcy. So, we got to be able to compare apples to apples, so to say.
I saw
So
one
we'll see.
yesterday or 2 days ago on River Road in the turn lane. So,
Well, I noticed out for a walk, there's more people walking. But that, but I don't know if that's true or not. That just happened to be the days I was out, but.
Yeah.
I would agree with your theory. I think I see a lot more people out walking around right now than we have in the past.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Okay, Councilor Day, do you have anything to?
Just one thing. So we talked, I'm one official city council meeting under my belt and a work session. At the city council meeting, we talked about committees and whether or not committees are going to be meeting in person or if you're going to meet virtually. And so at least through February 1st, the city council will be meeting both for the city council meetings and the work sessions in person. And we've left it up to the individual committees to make that decision whether they want to meet virtually or not. The only caveat to that is if you're intending to meet virtually by Zoom, Mr. Wood's the one who's responsible for kind of getting that all set up. So he needs as much lead time as possible if that's what you decide to do. But the council felt that it was really best for the committees themselves to decide whether they're going to meet virtually or not. And the fact that the last thing is the fact that the council is meeting in person, through February 1st at least. It shouldn't be interpreted as suggesting that the council wants this committee or any committee to do one or the other. That's about it.
No, I would just point out that the planning commission meeting was done on Zoom, and that was done effectively by them. So.
Right. Our concern, the council's concern was really being available for public input. That's what our number one concern was being available here so that people who wanted to appear in person and make whatever comments they felt they needed to make, we wanted to make sure that was available.
Are we an outlier, Debbie, or?
No, actually, it's split about 50/50. And I was pleased when you wanted to do this in person because Mikey comes to me a lot. People talk to him and they have questions or complaints about traffic in their area. And you know yourself, this whole committee does, how people do come. And those people are not on my distribution list. A lot of times they'll call and say they're planning on coming. And then in which case, if they did, if we were having a Zoom meeting, I could get their email address. But other people just come up here and with the idea that they will be able to talk to somebody. So it is nice that this committee is meeting in person, but we can do it online. And like I said, it's going about 50/50 on the committees. More actually leaning a little bit more towards in person.
Okay. Well, are you done?
I have nothing further, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman.
Thank you. So that will be one of the things we'll be talking about in other business. First, though, so sounds like there's a agreement that we will switch the meeting day to the third Thursday of every month.
Can we do that in a motion?
Oh, yeah, sure.
I make a motion that we move the regular meetings of the traffic, bicycles, whatever,
Bikeways and-
committee.
Traffic safety,
to the-
bikeways, and pedestrian committee.
Yes, to the third Thursday of each month.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion to change the date to the third Thursday of every month and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Effective February.
Effective February 1, right? Or February, whatever.
February meeting.
Is that correct? Is that February 11th the correct date, or is that the old date?
That won't be the right day, it'll be
Okay.
different now.
Okay,
Meet 7 days later, the 18th.
yeah,
February, February 8th.
18th,
Hey,
okay.
look at that.
All right, well, then, so,
Two of us have been asked.
That's right.
Yeah, those guys from U of
Those
O.
math-
You can keep
math-
track of days.
U of O had a good math department.
That's right.
what is the ratification of by motion of chair decision for tonight?
Okay, so this is a legal thing. Apparently, I think you all had the staff report in your packet, and that talked about just what Councilor Day talked about too. So we need a formal motion ratifying our chair's decision to hold this meeting tonight in person. After we do that, then we can do another motion to hold the next month's meeting, however we want to, whether in person or virtually.
So
So
I
we make a motion that,
Well, your motion would be to ratify the decision of the chair for tonight's in-person meeting.
yes, that's what I said.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
So, okay, that was David and hers?
Yeah. So a motion to ratify my decision for tonight's in-person meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Yeah.
What, is there
Just
any indication
And
of
I
what would
move
happen if
that-
we voted not to ratify?
Out of curiosity, should that have been number one?
I move, what am I, never mind.
A movie,
A motion
I guess
that
we
our
want to discuss.
February meeting will be in person.
Is that your?
Motion?
That's my motion.
Second.
Second, yeah.
Okay, so we have a
Because
motion.
we'll be consistent with city council, right? Because they said February.
Barring something else.
So a motion to have our next meeting on February 18th in person. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? No, seeing none, that passes.
Mr. Chair, I left something out, which I know you really wanted me, hear me say, but I think Mr. Dempster brought up a good point. Barring any, our decision to meet in person is barring any extreme change in our COVID circumstances. And that's kind of what we expect with,
Barring, yeah.
That makes
with
sense.
all the committees.
And I suppose that then that effect would be
Yeah.
affecting our decision.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you for that clarification. That is true. Okay, so reporting to council next Tuesday, Stephen. And
Well, Hirsch, do you you would be doing it next month. Do you just want to trade if you want to do this? And then
I'm
you don't have to
doing
go
it in
to two in a
February.
row?
Yeah, that'll work.
You want to trade?
No,
That's fine with me.
Yeah, that works
Because
for me.
I really think I should get in there and tell them, ask them permission for the
Yeah. Yeah, I
Quite
feel
friendly.
no ownership toward
Oh, okay.
this next week, so I'll do the February one then.
Okay?
Okay, and then, so for the planning commission, you'd still do?
So, the
Well, Steve
planning.
would
Yeah, I
explain-
already, yeah.
The Planning Commission is going to be discussing, and I don't usually know this for this meeting, but I do this particular time, the housing needs analysis. And I don't know if that's something that this committee feels like they need to be aware of, or I know you want it to be included, but I think as long as you know what they are going to discuss, some of the things they're going to discuss might not really be of interest to the, regarding traffic, bikeways, or that sort of thing.
Well, that
Well,
was
that's why
something
I
had a
just, I monitored
I know,
last
that
night.
was a great idea.
Just to know what was going on, and I thought that was sufficient for that, so.
And it is televised, but normally, but I do not think that work session is going to be, and it is going to replace the Planning Commission regular meeting.
So when is this meeting? The planning commission?
Monday, February 8th.
It's a
The
joint,
housing needs analysis.
That's
Yeah.
February
Get
8th.
another one?
no, this is, yes, it's an update of it.
An update from 2 years ago.
Sort of a continuation,
Yeah,
yeah.
because
Because it got complicated. It got complicated because their findings were such that we were not in compliance with something, and I don't know anything about planning and stuff, so this probably isn't exactly right, but, so we weren't in compliance, so that we could not adopt the housing needs analysis because it wasn't, because
Didn't meet
it
the
showed us being wrong.
requirements.
And so we had to go in and do some things. That's when they did the River Cherry overlay zone and some of the things to get us in compliance. And so now they've done that and they've included that in the housing needs analysis. And now I think they're hoping that we've got it down enough that and we're also waiting for our population projection, because we think that will be less than what it was before. And with those two things together, we might be able to actually formally adopt the buildable lands housing needs analysis report, which we haven't been able to do before because of the lack of compliance that I don't know too much about.
I understand what you're saying, it's just doesn't.
So I had a question. So we talked about the attending these meetings as necessary. Are we leaving it up to the person on the calendar to go, to decide if it's, or is it something we need to, like, as a group, decide? We all looked at the agenda and said, okay, you should go?
I think my own inclination would be to whoever's responsible for it, if there's something looks like it's going to be specifically germane and they want to attend, that's great. If there's nothing germane, I think it's still important to monitor it because there are things that can come up that will intersect with the
Yeah.
things. Like this is, for example, this conditional use thing doesn't really bear on anything we do, but the idea that there might at some point be traffic considerations that are
Needs and
implicated by
density
this.
obviously are going to have.
Yeah, it puts
the
it on our radar.
Transportation needs, even though that, they're not talking about transportation needs, we can use that information to say, okay, the density is going to be like that here, or projected, you know,
Well,
so.
you mean, for example, the long-range planning commission said or recommended to the city council that they do not extend the urban growth boundary for 10 years.
Right.
And that the city was supposed to negotiate with Salem and the Mid-Willamette Valley folks that all of our growth would be piggybacked on top of the city of Salem. And since they had pretty much unlimited growth to the south, we wouldn't have to worry about it. Apparently, that negotiation fell through, or the city of Kaiser decided not to follow it. Not to follow the long-range planning commission's recommendation. I mean, does that be, for example, so therefore we wouldn't have much reason for improving the transportation to the north under the old plan. But under the new one, now we have to worry about everything from here to,
Southeast.
well, probably end up at Brook Lake, time to get done.
Sure.
The council has not made any decisions on the urban growth boundary. It's a long ways out yet before they really do. There's still lots of other reports
No,
that,
I was saying, what was interesting was that they even brought it up since we told them that they had no for 10 years. They decided to disregard that.
well, back to the planning commission, that is televised. So you wouldn't have to go,
Yeah,
you know, you
that's
could
true.
monitor it just by watching it on
You
TV.
did it this month, and I'll do the city council, and I'll do planning commission, because I'm getting good at these Zoom meetings.
Yeah,
Rick, you had something?
Well, I was going to say, I was on that advisory committee for the housing analysis thing, and I'd be volunteer to go if you'd like me to. The only thing
Well,
I'm holding
it's-
back on is that's really close to our 53rd wedding anniversary.
Oh,
I'm
no.
not positive we're
You
going to
don't want to
be
do
here,
a
but-
Zoom meeting for that.
yeah.
So you'll do it?
I'll do it, yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to zoom anything.
Okay, well,
And Debbie's good about giving the agenda and everything
yeah,
ahead of time.
absolutely, yeah.
So, and so you want to participate in the Zoom meeting?
Yeah, I'll just, I may not be a very quiet observer.
Well, like I said, I didn't, I just watched it on the TV feed, so you can do that as well.
The work session won't be televised, so
Right.
you'll have to do it through the Zoom.
Oh, you'll have to.
So do you send him the link, or how does that work?
Yeah, I'll make sure, Tim does those here.
Yeah.
and I'll give him Persh's email address.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that sounds great. Thank you, everyone, tonight, and Happy New Year, since this is the first time we're meeting for the year, and get your shots as soon as you can get them.
Next Saturday, excuse me, a week from Saturday.